There may be some listeners who say, Zach's right, I should be having, or I want to have more sex. But what's most likely accompanied with that is, but I can't because my partner is X, Y, and Z. And so a lot of the times those conversations will happen. I want to have more sex, but you always say no, or you're never in the mood. And those conversations lead nowhere. So have a conversation with your partner where you're not blaming them for anything.
Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I am your host, May Bugenhagen. I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers, which is a boutique matchmaking company serving men ages 35 to 65 all across the US to help them find a lovely Asian woman. I'm always looking for women to join my database so I can set you up, and it's free for ladies. Today on my Asian Dating Podcast, I have a very special guest. His name is Zach Maxwell. With over 15 years of coaching experience, Zach has worked with couples, groups, teams, industry-leading entrepreneurs, executives, major recording artists, and students from all over the world. Zach's approach to coaching is to directly address his clients' underlying limiting belief systems and habitual ways of thinking. Knowing that the majority of our actions and thoughts are governed by our subconscious mind, Zach helps his clients hack into their subconscious to rewire their belief system, which helps change their actions for good. Wow, that is amazing. Welcome to the show, Zach. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we had your wife on the show, Sally, but I'm interested to obviously get the male's point of view and to interview a male relationship coach. So this is all good stuff. But can you tell the audience a little bit about how you got started and what led you to this path in your career and what you do?
Absolutely. So I started coaching as a client, being coached when I was a teenager. I had a challenging upbringing and was struggling in many areas of my life, and found that coaching was the right approach to help me to get to change my actions and the way that I thought about things. And it made such a difference for me in my life that I wanted to learn how to do it myself. And so I started coaching clients at a very young age when I was in college, actually working with teenagers mostly. And then as I got older, started to take on the full gamut of clientele of all different ages. I found over the years of coaching that one of the areas that I felt very well versed in was the area of love and relationships. My wife, Sally, and I had something very special and continue to have something very special. And that led us to want to teach what we practice in our own relationship to the world. As you know, modern relationships are saddled with a lot of problems and burdens and stresses. Relationships have always been saddled with those things. I think modern relationships have entered into a new phase where the expectations around love are greater than they ever have been. And that in itself is a burden that we are not necessarily aware of. And so Sally and I really started thinking, hey, we have something very unique and very special that we want to teach people. And we practice a set of tools that works for us in our 15-year relationship that continues on. And so we started to teach those tools, and really started to help save people's marriages, help people find love. And we continue to do so to this day.
I love it. I love it. I know you guys are out of Aspen, Colorado, and what a great place to be. And just listening to your story from when you were young and you received some coaching and you had this aha moment like, gosh, this actually really helps me be a better human being, be a better kid, and all that. And I don't think people give coaching or therapy enough credit. Do you think so? Like, what are your thoughts about that? Do you feel like every kid can benefit from some coaching from a mentor?
Absolutely. I think every kid who plays sports has a coach. And that's just a given. I mean, imagine if your kids in high school joined a basketball team and there was no coach. Parents would be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Where's
Yeah.
the coach? But when it comes to someone coaching us in other areas of our life, or even more importantly, coaching us to understand the power of how we think and how powerful our thoughts are and becoming the master of how we think, that is still pretty rare. And there's still very much a stigma around both therapy and coaching. But I think if you go back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there was way more of a stigma towards therapists and psychiatry and psychology, that if you needed a psychiatrist, that must mean that there was something wrong with you. And I think now, thank God, therapy and mental health and working on your mental health has become more of an accepted thing in our culture. I think coaching is still very much behind therapy in that way, because let's face it, in our industry, anybody can be a coach. You can literally just call yourself a coach, and you can be a coach that's 100 pounds overweight. You can be a dating coach that is single and has never had a healthy relationship. There's no qualification other than your experience and your clients referring you to other people, or spouting your praises, really, that can differentiate between the noise out there and the people who are doing things that are moving the industry forward. So I think there's still a lot of there's a bit of an eye roll in a lot of people of, oh, another coach, another life coach, another relationship coach. What even is that? Do you have a degree? Where did you get your degree? Are you like a therapist? Well, what's the difference between coaching and therapy? I think that those are normal questions that everyone should ask, but I think our industry is still in its infancy in that realm.
Yeah, but you have 15 years of real life experience being in a relationship and married for 7 years, and you know that what you're doing is helping a relationship. It's making it stronger. It's getting you so excited and passionate that you wanted to share this with other people. And I know you mentioned there were tools that you can use in your relationship. Can you talk a little bit about some of the tools the listener can apply instantly today that might help them with their communication with their spouse or partner?
Sure, absolutely. So in no particular order, and I'll speak high level on some of these things, because we could spend 6 hours talking about one of them and the nuances of one of them. We teach a number of different pillars that we practice in our relationship, and that we believe every relationship that is a successful one, that moves in a way where passion and love and intimacy continue to increase over time. These are pillars that we feel need to be in place in any successful relationship. And the first one, and we've heard this one from tons of different people talking about love and relationship, but the first one is total honesty and transparency. So really, another way of saying that is no secrets. And secrets are different than a right to privacy. So privacy is needed in relationships, but secrets are like cancer cells in a relationship. And so what we do with couples when they come to us in a fractured state is we take both people's list of everything that they've been keeping secret. And a secret isn't necessarily something as big as, hey, I had an affair. I mean, sometimes it is. Oftentimes, I mean, we see that more and more these days, it is. But a secret could be as simple as, I can't stand that my husband leaves his underwear on the floor before bed every night and I don't say anything. Or I have been annoyed by the fact that my husband has a soul patch and I've never had the guts to tell him how much of a turnoff it is because I don't want to hurt his feelings. All the way to, I had an affair, or I'm no longer attracted to my partner, or I don't enjoy having sex with my partner for the following reasons. So every relationship that's suffering has a list of secrets that they keep from their partner. And when we keep something secret, we give it more power. We actually give it more potency, because the way that it goes is, if we keep something secret, we are affirming to ourselves that whatever it is that we're keeping secret is so shameful, so bad, so can't be brought into the light that we have to keep it in the dark. And then we just give it more and more power the more we keep it secret. So we're not even relating necessarily to our partner. We're relating to them through the lens of our closet of secrets. So that's the first one. The second one is a rule that we have, and we're a little tongue-in-cheek about it because it is so binary, it's so black and white, and there's a lot of nuance about it, and we'll talk about that in a second, but we like the binary nature of it because it forces people to deal with all of their issues surrounding it. And so that pillar is never say no to sex. And so, especially if you're in a monogamous relationship, which most people are, we really do relate to sex like it's not optional. And that doesn't mean that you should have sex in a non-consensual way. We're not talking about a lack of consent. We're talking about that sex in an intimacy is really the foundation of your relationship. It's not your whole relationship, but it's the foundation of your intimacy. It's actually what separates the two of you from everybody else. It doesn't mean that that's why you married your partner. Obviously, you married your partner for a lot of other reasons, hopefully, like shared values, sense of humor, shared interests. But the fact that you have sex with them is a unique factor, unless we're talking about an open relationship, which is totally feasible. And we'll talk about that in a second. But your coworkers can make you laugh. Your best friends can make you laugh. And so, yes, you want your partner to make you laugh, but you don't have sex with your coworkers or your best friends, right? You have sex with your partner. So if your sexual relationship is fractured, the whole relationship becomes fractured. And the idea of never saying no to sex forces couples to deal with all of the reasons that they're a no, because most modern couples are a no more often than they're a yes, especially once you add time together. Like, oh, we've been together for 7 years. We've been together for 10. We've been together for 20 years. You know, who still gives their husband a blowjob after 20 years? Or we have kids. We don't have time, right? So once you get to those phases of a relationship, time together, add children, add aging, sex becomes more of a no than it does a yes, not for every couple, but for a majority of couples that we speak with. And so never saying no to sex, it's not as simple as, okay, let's just start saying yes. What it does is to get to that place where you are reaching for the yes far more often than you're reaching for the no. It forces couples to deal with all the reasons why they're a no. And so most people are a no for 4 reasons. They are a no because of factors in their own personal life that have nothing to do with their partner, indirectly affects their sex life. So for example, they're working too much, they're tired at the end of the day, they don't feel good about their body, they have sexual hangups. So it's their personal life, their own relationship to their own sexuality that has nothing to do with their partner. So those are the first 2. How am I dealing with issues in my personal life that are indirectly affecting sex? Number 2, how am I dealing with my own relationship to my sexuality that's indirectly affecting my sexual relationship with my partner? And number 3 is, what are my issues with my partner, my unresolved issues? We go back to secrets, right? What are my unresolved issues with my partner that are indirectly impacting our sexual relationship? And then number 4 is, what are my sexual issues with my partner that are directing our sexual relationship? So never say no to sex mandates that you have to deal with all 4 of those categories. If I'm not feeling good in my body, okay, what needs to happen in order for me to get feeling good in my body? And I can still have sex with my partner even if I'm not completely feeling good in my body. If I'm too tired at the end of the day, if I'm working too much and I have no time for intimacy, what can I do to start to change that, to deal with the importance of my intimacy with my partner? If there is emotional disconnect and unresolved issues between me and my partner, how can I start to communicate those things and resolve them with my partner? And then if I have sexual hangups with my partner, how can I communicate those things and resolve them with my partner? And so that's the second pillar. It's never say no to sex as a goal. Like, let's get to a place where we can be a yes to sex far more often than we're a no. And where we relate to sex like it's, what am I saying no to? What am I really saying no to? Well, if I have all of these unresolved issues, then I'm saying no to something. But if I handle these issues, what am I still saying no to? I'm saying no to pleasure and connection, a rush of positive, healthy hormones that are anti-aging, that create more love and connection between me and my partner. Why would I say no to that? And then the last pillar is that your relationship is a living and breathing thing that evolves over time. And who you are when you get together with your partner or when you marry your partner is not who you're going to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And so this is where so many relationships get stuck, is we have a ever-changing list of needs. And so my needs when I got married at 31 might be different when I'm 45. You know, I may have wanted to be monogamous when I was 31 and I got married, but at 40 or 45, maybe I don't want to be monogamous. And so your contracts with each other, your sexual contracts, your financial contracts, and I don't mean written contracts, I mean the things that you agreed upon, have to be open for renegotiation without it threatening the health of your relationship. So those are the three main pillars that we teach, and each one of them is a world in and of itself. But high level, that's kind of the gist.
So going back to the first pillar where you say no secrets, both parties are coming into your relationship coaching knowing that they have to write down these secrets and share it with each other, or do they work through these secrets on their own with you guys?
They work through these secrets on their own with us for however long that takes. You know, a big secret like I had an affair, or I have been watching porn and not telling you for a long time, or I'm not attracted to you anymore, that takes time to get someone willing to share and learning how to share that in a way that is as productive as possible. Learning the tools of communication and learning also the responsibility that they bear in that dynamic as well. So we work, when we work with couples, we work individually with each member of the couple first before we have a session with everyone in the room. And sometimes that can take a month, and sometimes it can take 6 months before we get everyone in the room together. But yes, is the answer to your question.
Do both couples need to work with you to help their relationship, or can just the wife or girlfriend come without the man? Like, how does that work?
So ideally, it's better to be working with both people, but in a lot of cases, one person will reach out for help. And then what will happen is, let's say, for example, two couples are overweight. Let's say two couples have been struggling with some form of obesity or being overweight for their relationship. Let's say one person comes to coaching and they lose 100 pounds. At some point in that process, there's going to be an energetic imbalance that needs to be addressed, where one person is making all this positive change and the other person is staying stuck in their patterns. So that dissonance is going to force the relationship to grow, regardless of if both people get in the room with us. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
they would grow. What if they don't grow closer? They grow further apart because one person doesn't want to lose weight and now they're jealous of their spouse's new activities, new relationships, new energy, new outlook on life, new mindset. Like, how do you help with that with the person that's being left behind?
That would point to a systemic issue in that relationship where one person wants to evolve and grow and one person doesn't. And that rubber band can only stretch so far before it snaps.
Mhm.
Right. And so when we coach singles, people who are dating, what values should I look for in an intimate partner, in a long-term intimate partner? At the top of that list is, does the person that you're dating share a desire for personal development and growth?
Right.
Because then you're not going to run into that problem.
Yeah.
And you can know pretty quick after, you can know probably even on the first date if someone is that type of person, right? If someone is I am the way that I am, and if you love me, then you'll accept me for who I am, that's a value.
Yeah.
Versus I am constantly looking for ways to evolve myself, grow spiritually, grow emotionally. I want to be the best version of myself. That's a value system too.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I want to go back to your second pillar where you said never say no to sex. So you're saying that if one partner suggests to have sex, the other one should willingly and want to participate instead of having the rejection piece, because if you reject and keep saying no, then that's going to create problems, right, in your relationship. So how would you suggest one person initiate or ask the other person in your coaching, in your relationship coaching?
Ask the other person, initiate what?
Like if one person wants sex, how do they initiate it that would make the other person say yes?
I think that's a question that that person should ask their partner. What are your ideal ways that I would initiate sex with you?
Mhm. What are
If
some
you want to know.
samples that people would do to initiate sex?
So as simple as asking, but that's not necessarily the most sexy or seductive way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you really can ask. You can ask for sex in your relationship. Figuring out where your partner gets what turns your partner on. Maybe your partner is more of an emotional connection type of person sexually. They need to have an emotional connection. So if they're that type of person, then you start hours before. Maybe I bring home dinner. Maybe I cook you dinner. Maybe I'm flirting with you over text message throughout the day, or calling you and checking in, and flirting with you over the phone and whetting your appetite in not directly like, hey, I can't wait to come home and have sex with you. Or maybe that's exactly what it is. Maybe you're talking, you're sexting your partner throughout the day and flirting with them in that way. Or if they're a more physical person, if they respond to physical touch, then you reach out to them in a physical way. Maybe you give them a massage, or you kiss them, or you look into their eyes and you bring them towards you and you embrace them in that way. You want to figure out where your puzzle pieces fit. And the best way to do that is to think back to the beginning of your relationship. What were the natural ways that you both initiated sex? And it'll at least give you some ideas in how to initiate. Now, the problem that most people bump into is that they're just scared to initiate. They're scared to get rejected because they've been rejected so many times by their partner.
Right, right.
So what needs to happen in that instance is conversations have to happen. Hey, can we talk about this? I have this experience in our relationship that you say don't want to have sex a lot of the times that I initiate. Is that true? what's your experience like when I initiate? Do you like how I initiate? Do you not like how I initiate? Do you say no because of something that is going on between us sexually that I don't know about? Or do you say no because there's something going on personally, like you're stressed about work, or you're tired at the end of the day, or you don't feel emotionally connected? Like, in order for this to work, there's a number of conversations that just have to happen so that we have an understanding of what's really going on. What we see most of the time is that couples don't talk about it, enough rejection goes on, and then they cheat.
Yeah. I feel like this second pillar should just be something that every couple needs to live and breathe by, and they won't have any troubles, right? Like from their dating year one or year two, that, hey, this is what we live by, this is what we do. If you initiate, the other person says yes. You don't say no. Of course, there's once in a while, it would be a good reason why you would say no, but
You don't feel well, if you're
right.
tired, if you're tired, if you don't feel well, if you're sleeping, if you're, working, like there are, and then it's not as black and white as I'm not in the mood at all and you want it. So sure, it's I'm not in the mood at all and you want it. So how can we bridge the gap? Esther Perel, one of the greatest thought leaders on intimacy and relationships in the world, says, okay, convince me. And I love that. This whole idea of, okay, I'm not in the mood, but convince me. What would bring me from a no to a yes in this moment? And maybe it's bring me from a no to a yes in 2 hours, or tomorrow morning if I'm like literally on the pillow and about to fall asleep. But the bigger picture is that we are enthusiastically doing what we can to reach for that yes, rather than how quickly we just reach for that no.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
estimate the impact of what that no, especially over time, does to our intimacy.
So, being a intimacy expert and all that, what should couples shoot for? Like, is it 4 times a week, twice a week, once a week? Like, what is the norm that's going to keep relationships on both parties happy? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is the magic number if there is one?
There is no magic number. Every couple is different. The magic number is really what works for both couples, for each couple. And the magic number is also, it's very rare that people end up having not like exactly the same sex drives. Most couples have mismatched sex drives. And also, though those numbers change over time. Remember, we talked about how relationships are living, breathing things. So, for example, during pregnancy, a woman might experience a huge increase in her sex drive. More likely, she experiences a huge decrease in her sex drive. If a man or a woman is very stressed or stuck in their masculine in work, then they're going to experience a lower sex drive. And so it's more about balancing the mismatch of the sex drives rather than thinking that an X amount of times a week is going to solve the problem. Now, X amount of times a week is a great initial solution to couples that are really disconnected sexually. Just like if you haven't been exercising for 2 years, go to the gym 3 times a week, or hire a trainer, or take an online exercise class 3 times a week and stick to it for 6 months, just to get you back in the habit of exercising. Then tailor your needs more specifically to your unique situation.
So, what if somebody who's listening right now is like, you know what? He's right. Um, Zach's right. I should have more sex in my relationship. How do they go about it today to successfully initiate? that? Like how if they're thinking, gosh, you know what, he's right. I could use more intimacy in my relationship starting today. What is one tip that you can give them to help with that?
Talk to your partner about it in a non-blaming way. So what will normally happen is, and what's probably happening more likely is there may be some listeners who say, Zach's right, I should be having, or I want to have more sex. But what's most likely accompanied with that is, but I can't because my partner is X, Y, and Z. And so a lot of the times those conversations will happen. I want to have more sex, but you always say no, or you're never in the mood. And those conversations lead nowhere. So have a conversation with your partner where you're not blaming them for anything, where first you're taking responsibility for whatever you can see your role may be in the disconnect, and where you're also curious about their experience. Hey, I want us to have more amazing sex together. And I have my ideas of why there might be a sexual disconnect, but I also really want to hear from you about your experience, your list of issues in this area of our relationship, because I might not be aware of them at all. And I can see that I have been playing this role. Maybe I have been the pissed off, entitled teenager of why won't you give me what I want? And I'm mad at you. I'm resentful and pissy about that you say no. Or maybe I've been emotionally disconnected and I come home and I throw the TV on because I'm so tired from work. Where can I turn the arrow to point towards myself here? Because in any disconnect in a relationship, there are always two people who are contributing to that dynamic.
Yeah. So, in your experience, what are some things that the women say that is the problem, that the women rejects the men? Like, what are some excuses the women have said in your practice?
The women specifically
Mhm.
said, my husband doesn't listen to, and these are in no particular order. So we have issues with the sex with their partner. So I tell my husband to slow down and he doesn't listen. My husband ejaculates and then falls asleep and we have no intimacy afterwards. My husband is overweight and I'm not attracted to him. My husband and I are emotionally disconnected because he's super stressed at work and doesn't put any effort into our romance. That's a big one. My husband doesn't put any effort into our romance. He just is like, hey, like, let's have sex because I want to. I feel like I'm being used, like I'm just a hole that is, I could be a hooker. That's one we hear a lot. Like I feel like I could just be a hooker and it would be the same. There's no intimacy, there's no emotional connection. Then we also have a lot of cultural narratives that women have been carrying around with them for generations and generations. If I am a partner that wants sex, I'm a slut, I'm a whore. My partner wants me to be a slut in the bedroom, but a good girl in all other areas of our relationship. I had bad sexual experiences in the past, and so I'm not really that interested in sex, or I have a lot of shame around my own sexuality. Society slut shames women, but women slut shame themselves because that's what women have been taught to do for thousands of years. And so that cultural narrative lives in the subconscious of every woman on some level. They're dealing with that discrepancy, that catch-22 of I'm supposed to want to have sex with my husband for my marriage, but that also means that I am a promiscuous, like, and that's not true, but those are big blocks that women have, specifically women have in relationships.
What was the third pillar? The second one was so interesting. I forgot what the third one was.
that your relationship is a living, breathing
Oh,
thing,
that's right.
and the needs of each partner in the relationship are going to change and evolve over time. And both people have to be willing to run with those changes.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, why do you think our divorce rate is like 55%? Like, are you saying that if both parties got relationship coaching, that our divorce rate in the US can go down to like 20%?
I don't know how down, like what percent it would go down, because I think a lot of people get married for the wrong, like a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons. They don't have the same shared value system. They're not asking the right questions and overturning the right stones before they get married. But I certainly think that that percentage could go down dramatically, even if it went down 15 or 20%.
Yeah.
And I believe it could go down more if people had the right tools and got the right help. A lot of the times, though, people get to a coach or a therapist at the last stage. And what would really actually help is if couples who are in a good place work with somebody so that they maintain and augment what's already working. You see this with people all the time who are just more oriented towards self-development or self-improvement. It's like people hire personal trainers because they need to lose weight, but people who are already in great shape seek out personal trainers to get them to the next level. So both things need to happen, right? If you are in a really fractured place in your relationship, seek help immediately. If you're in an okay place or a solid place, seek help to take it from good to great, or from great to greater. We are having a human experience in these bodies, and who knows how long we each get, how much currency of time we have. Our relationship, if we're choosing to be in a relationship and live with our partner, that is like, we spend more time with our partner than anybody else. That's like one of the most, if not the most important areas of our life. Why not make it as great as it possibly could be?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So let's say somebody who's listening now is thinking, gosh, my relationship is already good. I'm happy with, the communication we have together, the intimacy in our relationship. We're growing together. All three pillars are right on point. They're honest, they're not lying, they're not cheating on each other. If they don't get relationship coaching, is there like a book or two that you recommend that would really help great relationship people to get better without getting a relationship coach?
I think anything by Esther Perel is worth reading, like 100%, 101. She wrote a book called Mating in Captivity that I think is like the first book that I would tell anybody in a relationship to read. For men and for women, even though the title is directed towards men, David Data wrote a book called The Way of the Superior Man, which I think is a must read for anyone in a relationship. That I would start there.
Okay, two excellent books. All right. What are some relationship tips you can give before I let you go that you would like to share that's important? Maybe some different aha moments that you've had in your career that you're like, you know what? People would really benefit from this. And just to share a little nugget or two.
I think that's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is that we need to move away from the cultural narratives, the romantic ideal that we've been fed in Western culture about what love is supposed to look like. And we need to write our own love stories that are unique to us and our partner. And so we are raised inside of a narrative that we inherited from not only our parents, but the people that we grew up with in school, what their parents' relationships look like, from Disney movies and romantic comedies. And there's an expectation that we have about what love should look like that is in relationship to what we have perceived our whole life around us. And there is no cookie cutter, one size fits all love story. And we need to get more creative about what our unique love stories look like. Maybe you've been monogamous for 10 years, and then it would serve you and your partner to open up your relationship. Maybe you've been monogamous for 10 years and one of you realizes that you are bisexual or wants to explore your bisexuality, and there needs to be room for that in your relationship. Maybe you've been in an open relationship for 10 years and you would be better served closing your relationship. And not just in terms of monogamy and sexual contracts, but also maybe you got together when you were 27 and one of you goes on to make a lot of money, and making a lot of money changes the way that you want to live your life. Maybe you married someone who's wealthy and they lost a lot of money. Maybe one of their parents died. Maybe one of them gets depressed. There's a flexibility that it's kind of like, these big skyscrapers that are being built, they move with the wind. They're flexible, because if they're not, then they'll shatter and they'll collapse. And because of how we're raised inside of these cultural narratives, and because of our expectations of what we think love should look like, we are not flexible in our relationships. And we scoff at the idea of something that would change our expectation of how things should go. So to answer your question, be flexible, be open-minded, be willing to write your own love story.
I love it. Okay, very good. Be flexible. And I had a great time speaking with you today, Zach. I will put all of the information on how someone can contact you so that they can work with you.
Please, thank you.
Any last minute comments before I let you go?
Just, we would love to help whoever's listening either find love if they're dating and looking for the right person. That's one of the things we work with people on, is helping them figure out what they're looking for, how to communicate what they're looking for, how to attract the right partner. And then we always love to work with couples who are in any phase of their relationship. So from broken to healed to great to greater. So yes, please reach out to us and we would love to hear from you.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the Asian Dating Podcast today. And if you would like to contact me, please go to 2asianmatchmakers.com. I would love to work with you and connect with you. And please like or subscribe to this channel. And thank you so much. Have a great, great day. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Bye.